KPPP-LP Fargo-Moorhead 88.1 FM. This is Nemo Cicados, and I hope we're finding you and finding me at KPPP-LP Fargo-Moorhead 88.1 FM, where we are adding local queer color to your airwaves. Tune in to listen at 5 p.m. on the first Wednesday of the month for new content with replays at the same time every Wednesday on the radio on 88.1 FM and at our website at kpppfm.com for the podcast. We have live stream Facebook etiquette. Please refer to KPPP-LP Fargo-Moorhead's Facebook comment rules. Links are available as a Facebook note on our page and as a PDF. Be a good audience, don't harass the host, technician, moderator, or other audience members, or the moderator will enforce the rules and ban you. Links will be dropped into the comments, or just open a new tab in your browser if you can, and take a look so you don't get banned from commenting. If you want to comment on the show or have an interview arranged with me, you can contact us at 701-566-0917, at Nemo Potatoes on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Contact me at kpppfm.com/fighting-me and hit the contact tab, or email me at nemo@kpppfm.com. Follow us on Facebook at 88.1 FM Fargo-Moorhead, The People's Press Project, and Mexi-Can. Donations to Fargo-Moorhead's low-power, commercial-free radio station can be made at our website on kpppfm.com/donate, and check out our underwriting opportunities at kpppfm.com/underwriting-opportunities on how you can support the first queer radio program in the Red River Valley. Last month, we talked about Janelle Monáe's music video. If you were in the area, you were able to listen to my commentary with the music. If you were here on Facebook Live, then the music was muted along with some of my commentary cut off. And if you were listening to my podcast, you heard my commentary in its entirety, but without the music so I could comply with the copyrights. You can listen to my commentary notes while watching the music video at kpppfm.com/finding-me, and I will drop a link into the comments with my notes. We are going to start out with an interview and finish off with some healing harmonies, LGBT musicians, or at least at the Allies, because I covered LGBT musicians about a year or two ago. So I want to cover the Allies because I think it helps to use that as part of our journey as well, when even before that, a lot of LGBT musicians weren't able to be out yet. So I wanted to acknowledge that history. And I felt some healing from that music growing up queer, or I didn't realize I was queer until I experienced a lot of the music I listened to by association. So now, to the interview. We're starting off with an interview with the original Glitterbeard, singer, songwriter, actor, animation voice actor, activist, live broadcaster, and paranormal investigator under the guidance of Jody Parks. Folks, please welcome Brad Kilmer. Hi there, Brad. How you doing?
I'm great, Nemo. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Just, working hard, making these programs for our listeners and viewers. So I wanted to get into these questions right away. I did a little icebreaker introduction, but how about you tell our audience about yourself a little bit?
First of all, thank you for having me on the show. Love your station, love your work. I'm many things. I'm an actor, singer, songwriter. Sometimes I do paranormal investigations, activist, and I've been in I was in a movie, Showgirls 2, like a few years ago, and done some TV work. Appeared on Conan O'Brien, and of course, everybody knows me from being that crazy blue bearded guy behind Bernie Sanders. So,
Yeah. Okay. So, let's see. My next question is like, what did you grow up listening to for music, and what do you listen to now?
well, what did I grow up listening to? Well, I grew up in the '80s, Nemo. So I grew up listening to a lot of like pop stuff, like Aha, the Motels, Martha Davis and the Motels, Susie and the Banshees, 80s. Let's see, take a look at my wall. Well,
Yeah.
also I grew up in the '90s too, so I listened to a lot of Danielle Brisbois, New Radicals. I have Delight up there. I really love Sophie B. Hawkins.
Mm-hmm.
Just I listen to a lot. I'm mostly influenced by female artists, but there are some male artists that I love.
Yeah, because like for me, growing up, I was influenced not only by my mom's taste in music, which is anything that her father had playing on her their stereos or um, the stuff that she was listening to at the time. So I was exposed to a lot of Queen, Aha, and bunch of other musicians of her time, and Michael Jackson and everything else. So that's what I grew up with, and I still listen to those artists, including the ones that I started listening to in the '90s when I was born and getting older. So I uh, picked up little things like NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys because that was cool at the time.
Of
And
course, we all liked
yeah,
the NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, didn't we?
yeah, exactly. And then I was also listening to Destiny's Child, and that was by far one of my top favorites growing up. So I was always singing along to the radio. Um, and I look back now, and I just I feel like a lot of queer folks like really identified what those artists were pushing out, and the messages that they wanted to convey, and what helped us be more of ourselves and who we are as queer folk. Um, and leading into that, how do you feel music has shaped your identity?
How do I feel music has shaped my identity? Well, I want to finish answering the question. I only answered half your question. I
Go
answered
ahead.
what I listened to growing up and what I listen to now. Well, it's I really like a lot of the classic artists. Like I left out Patti Smith, Taylor Dane, and I just want to give a huge shout out. Like I'm a huge fan of the Motels. I'm sure you know who the Motels are.
Mhm.
Only the Lonely and Suddenly Last Summer.
Mhm.
I still listen to them to this day because they have a new record out called Last Few Beautiful Days. So a lot of the artists that I listened to growing up, I still listen to today, and I still follow them and continuing on their path. And how do I feel? The question was, how do I feel music has shaped my identity? Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it shaped my identity as far as I don't know. I kind of feel like you identify with the music. I
Right.
don't know if that makes any sense. So I love a lot of I don't know. It shaped me. I really liked I love Freddie Mercury. I love Michael Jackson. I love artists that have a really have a showmanship about them. The legendary Tom Jones.
Mhm.
And of course, I keep talking about her because she's amazing. Martha Davis and the Motels. I've seen her twice, years ago, and I'm getting ready to see her again in Edwardsville, Illinois, which I'm super excited about. And she is she's been hailed as one of the most charismatic performers of our time. So if you ever get a chance to see the Motels, Nemo, definitely do it. So that seeing her live versus listening to her music on a CD, it's a whole different ball game because you can really, see the expressions on their face and feel that feeling. So, as far as shaping my identity, this um, this came about a whole different way. So, I don't know if I'm answering that question really great. I guess I identify with a lot of the artists, and I don't know, they inspire me. So, like Prince, obviously, I
Oh
don't know if
yeah.
you can see Prince behind me. Prince. That's actually okay. That's how I got Male Crystal Ball because there's a Prince song called Crystal Ball, and years ago I was thinking of a screen name, like what could I do? And I'm like, oh, I'll just call myself Crystal Ball, right? And
Yeah.
but I'm like, no, I'm going to call myself Male Crystal Ball. So actually, Prince has helped my identity, I guess, as a musician. So, yay, I did answer the question.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, you can answer this question. I know you can. I know you can. Like, I think about like growing up, like not just queer people even, but just anyone who listens and appreciates music and understands why we love it so much as human beings. That connects us to ourselves when we listen to lyrics or we listen to musical notes and chords that just pull us in the right direction to
Yes.
being our more authentic selves in our expression of our own humanity. Like, I'll listen to like for example, hunting high and low and just kind of feeling the emotions of like, and how it pulls at you.
Nemo, I had no idea you were such an Aha fan. I have over on my like I have music all over my wall. I have a whole Aha wall. Like, do you like have all their albums? Like, have you heard all their albums?
I don't
Hunting
know if
High and Low was amazing. Scoundrel Days, and go ahead.
I don't know if I have all. It's just that because I grew up with my mom, who is of course amazing, and she has an amazing music
Absolutely.
taste. She exposed me to that as a child, and of course in the womb. Like fun fact from our audience: when I was in the womb, my mom would take her headphones and then put them on her belly just so that I could listen to it, and otherwise. It was kind of disputed of whether or not I was even alive in there because I didn't move much. I did a lot of sleeping and just kind of like growing in there and until it was my
Sure.
time to come out, but I was a procrastinating baby, so even when it was my due date, I didn't come out right away and I was 2 weeks overdue. So I was just kind of overcooked in there, and then I finally came out, and of course, even to this day, I still like listen to things like Bohemian Rhapsody because apparently that's one of the songs that she would play, on
A
her
class.
belly. So
It's a class.
yeah. So and of course, when babies are in the womb, they hear plenty of things, and with the whole water in there, sound is amplified or warped in different ways, and of course, it influences the child, and they retain that information even then. So
Absolutely.
I feel like for sure, I was definitely heavily influenced by Aha, and I just really like the singing and the music, and of course, my top favorite song would have to be not just Hunting High and Low, but also like the number one Take on Me.
Take on me. Have you ever heard I've Been Losing You?
Maybe, but I should probably look into it more because, like,
Oh,
with the way my brain works and being autistic, I tend to hyper focus on like one song that just like
sure.
really gets me, and so I just kind of put that song on repeat for hours, just kind of soaking it into my core being.
I do that as I mean I'm not autistic, but I do that a lot. I listen to this album by Danielle Brisbois. Danielle Brisbois was part of the group called New Radicals in 1999 or 1998, and they had a hit song called "You Get What You Give." But actually, this album here, "Arrive All Over You," came out in '94,
Hmm.
and as you said, you were hyper focusing. I could say I very much hyper focused on that whole album. I've listened to that album probably, oh, I don't know, probably over 1,000 times, and it never gets old. So while I'm not autistic, I can definitely understand and identify with focusing on like
Oh
one
yeah,
song, one
yeah.
album, 100%.
Oh yeah, yeah. Cause like for me, it's like there's just certain um things I like to focus on, and at least for my trans identity, it was funny because mom was telling me that she takes in music in a different way than I do as someone who identifies as a woman, and she takes it in all at once, whereas for me, I listen to a song and then I listen to it again and again and again because I am breaking it down into the individual instruments and just listening to each
Yes,
instrument on its own by focusing on that one instrument and what it's doing and how it contributes to the overall piece. And um, I suppose for most male identifiers, that's the experience when they're listening to music is they break it down into those bits and pieces.
well, I would say when I listen to music, oftentimes I don't. This will sound strange, but I don't listen to the words. I listen to the melody and how it's sang, and then eventually I kind of like, oh yeah, they're talking about this or they're talking about that. It's the melody and how they're emoting their voice is really what pulls me in.
I understand that. I totally understand that. Sometimes more can be said without words, or even in just where the sounds are going, whether it's up or down,
Absolutely,
or what feeling they're trying to convey in the sound itself without saying anything at all. And oftentimes, if I want to focus on a task, I don't listen to music with lyrics, and I instead focus on classical themed music, or orchestrals type stuff, like or band type things, so that
absolutely. I
this
can
way I
I
can
can
just
definitely identify with that. I
right.
can't I can't listen to a bunch of words when I'm trying to study, which I haven't studied in years. I've been, just turned 25. Wink, wink. Just got out of school, wink, wink. But yeah, I have a hard time concentrating as well. Like if I'm being bombarded with words, like I definitely, we have a lot more in common than you think.
Yeah. So, because when I was in college as well, I had trouble studying. And if I, try to study and then listen to music with lyrics, then here I am just kind of like getting distracted and singing along. And I'm
Yep.
not doing
Yep.
any actual studying. And of course, that just leads to bad grades. And I don't need that. And I didn't need that.
Exactly.
So I would switch over to fan made music, which oftentimes would be taken from a video game, and they would just put their own spin on it. So I liked listening
Sure.
to cover instrumental songs or whatever, and seeing how they, put their spin on it. Whether it was changing a rock song into a more classical, theme, or vice versa, and just seeing how that changes the feeling of the song itself. I just think
Absolutely.
I just think that's really cool.
For sure. And have you ever heard of an artist by the name of Joe Jackson?
I think so. I think
He
so.
had a hit song in the '80s that goes it's like you babe stepping out. You would know it if you heard it. It's a
Probably.
huge song in the '80s. But you know like I'll discover a song by an artist, and I'm the type of person like if I find that song or that artist very like really intriguing, I'll get all their albums and check them out. That's how like with Susie and the Banshees, they came out in 1991 with their first commercial hit, which I would have never heard of them had they not well, who's to say? But when I was younger in '91, um, I when I was 3, I would have never discovered them had they not had that radio hit. So, but I don't really care for a lot of the things on the radio nowadays. I feel like auto tune and I feel like auto tune has really taken the heart and soul out of a voice, and that's one of the things that I love. And I'm gonna bring her up again. That's one of the things I love about the Motels. They don't have auto tune, and on their new record, it's just pure. It's just pure bliss, and her voice is still so great, and there's no need for auto tune. So you really get that emotion and that pure melody that comes from the human soul.
Oh yeah, I can get that. It's kind of like listening to the difference of like MTV unplugged songs and then like
Oh yeah.
yeah. So I totally get that vibe. Like, again, because I'm a fucking big Aha fan. I'm gonna have to censor that later. But I was listening to the
I'm
I was
gonna
listening
pick
to
all my Aha albums. I'm gonna send you a
I,
picture of all my Aha albums.
I was I was listening to like Hunting High and Low, in its regular form when it was released, and then I was listening to the MTV Unplugged version, and it was just an entirely different experience to listen to the difference and to get entirely different feelings from both songs, even though they are the same song.
True, true. Well, acoustic is one of my favorite. Um, one of my favorite. I like an acoustic guitar and a voice, and I
Mm-hmm.
like an artist that doesn't have to hide behind something. So I've heard what you're talking about. It's probably one of their newest release. They do a acoustic version of like everything.
Yeah,
So thank you, Spotify. Even though Spotify doesn't really, artists really don't make much money on Spotify, but it's
unfortunately.
great. Yeah, it's great. It's great for the listener because I don't know if you remember the '90s group Belly.
I may have heard
They
of
had
them.
they had a hit song called "Feed the Tree" and the Avenue album out now, and I listened to it, and it's really good. But it's definitely my top album for the year. For many years is "The Last Few Beautiful Days" by the Motels. So I definitely recommend that. So sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Um, but yeah, I'll definitely check out those recommendations. Um, Let me see. Okay, here we go. So, how have you applied the influences of the music you've listened to into your own work? How do you apply that?
Uh, Um, well, you may say applied. I would say inspired.
Yeah.
Another artist I really enjoy is an artist by the name of Patti Smith. She had a hit song called "Because the Night." She came out with a song called or an album called "Horses," and she really inspires me because in some of her records she'll have a spontaneous track where they'll just get in the studio and they'll just start playing something and she'll just come out with it
Mm-hmm.
and it just flows through her and it's very spontaneous and random and on the spot. I'm using all a whole bunch of different words to describe the same thing, but
Mm-hmm.
that really inspired me to do the same thing. So, I'll go with, I live in Evansville, Indiana, and every once in a while, whenever I'm not working late because again, I work and I have a real job. um, you know, um, Not begging for money from people, except for when I have a record. Um, but anyhow, they have a house band, and I just go up there and I say, "Hey, play." They're like, "Well, what do you want to play?" And I'm like, "Well, play whatever you want." And sometimes I'll hum something, and it's really spontaneous and really beautiful. And honestly, Nemo, it's very cathartic because when I do that, when I get on stage and I sing, you just sing from my heart and just whatever comes into my head, it's very cathartic. It really releases all my inner demons. It's very therapeutic. It's very freeing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if to any singer out there who feels kind of like they're locked up, um, you know, uh, like Martha Davis of the Motel said in a couple of her interviews, you really have to get out of your own way.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe at the age I'm at now, which whatever, I'm not ashamed. I'm 39 years old, and I'm older and wiser, and um, I'm happy with my life. So that's definitely that's helped me to like seeing her do that has inspired me to do the same things to be free, and that's honestly how a lot of great beautiful songs get written
Mm-hmm.
is from spontaneity.
That's true. That's really true. Like, like for example, like I'm mostly an artist, and despite what you may think, even though I'm a radio host, I don't do a whole lot of talking, or I prefer not to do a lot of talking. I do a lot of listening and thinking, and just kind of invert and kind of cook information within myself before I put something out in a creative fashion. And I'm an
Sure.
artist in my own way, which is doing my digital artwork. And so like right now I've got like a bunch of projects in my brain that I'm still trying to work with based on my favorite Aha songs, as well as a bunch of other music that I found fit the style of my work, and I wanted to look at those music videos and study those artistic things, like the Take on Me video with uh, the way they used the animation of pencil animation. That stuff
Yes,
that
yes.
that stuff is nuts to me because as an artist, I have to study animation and art and how they apply that, and and how that works. And so for me, visually, it's really nice to look at, and of course, it works well with the music and the words itself, and they kind of lend hands to each other, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And commenting on the Aha Take on Me video, that was pretty high tech for back in the day. And it's still, you can watch it, and it's very, even though they have the '80s hairstyles and
Oh yeah,
whatnot, the artistic merit of that video is just amazing.
yeah, exactly. So, I keep studying a bunch of music videos to understand where the musician was coming from with the imagery that they did, or the stuff that they chose, or whoever did the choosing of the imagery being conveyed. Like I can look at Janelle Monáe's music video and completely understand where she is coming from with the imagery that she is using and the words that she wants to match to those images so that the viewer or the listener understands what's going on. So,
I'm I'm making that face because I did watch her show last night, and she's not an artist that I would particularly listen to. And I know Facebook has the thing of, where if you play a certain song, it'll just black you out, and that's great that you had the subtitles. But um, yeah, let's get screwed. For instance,
mm-hmm,
I would have never thought that. Um, I don't know. I guess I would have dismissed it because of the auto tune, because I hate auto tune.
mm-hmm.
But that video and how you describe, how you were just, basically giving the commentary, it really helped me to understand and see things. We kind of like your mom has helped me and so many people understand, the effect of white supremacy. So it was really great. Like your mom does her own thing and you do your own thing, and I was just like, watching that video, and you were describing things that I never would have thought to notice.
Oh yeah,
So so
and that
thank you for that. It was a great show yesterday.
I'm so glad because I don't know when this video in particular of our interview is going to be posted, but I do know for a fact that let's
Maybe
see.
during Pride Month.
Oh,
Maybe
I'm
maybe
hoping
during
so.
Pride Month.
I'm hoping so. Well, it's more like I'm doing a three-part series of music and queer identity.
Understood.
So
Understood.
I'm hoping because in the Fargo-Moorhead area, we have this weird thing where people decided, because people want to travel to the Twin Cities to go to Pride, we're going to set up our Pride in this city in August. And I'm thinking to myself, that's lame. Why don't you focus on your community to make Pride cool as it is in the Twin Cities?
Exactly. Exactly.
So, shout out to the Pride Collective. You should maybe focus on your own community to do that. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
that's just my 2 cents. I'm just a radio host otherwise. You don't have to listen to me. But anywho, uh yeah, I had to I really enjoyed working on the audio commentary for Janelle Monáe's music video, and I'm going to be posting the blog post on June 12th. So look forward to that so that you may also get the audio commentary that was otherwise omitted. It's not going to have the music playing, but it has a countdown so that when you have your music video in front of you, you can hear me saying 3, 2, 1. You can hit play on your music video so that it's in sync with what you're listening to and you have the full context of what I was talking
Oh.
about. So
And,
I had to get around the copyright infringement because the audio commentary is mine, but
mhm.
I'm going to put that out there so that way everyone has the context of what's going on.
Well, that takes a lot of time and dedication, and thank you for doing that. A lot of people don't realize how much editing and doing all that stuff does. So I want to thank you for it and, and recognize you for it because it's hard work. So
Mm-hmm.
my hat's off to you.
Thank you very much. So yeah, because it was the longest part by far was the subtitles, and I felt like that was the most important thing because I want at least
Oh
people
yeah.
to see the lyrics and if nothing else that they understood what they were possibly listening to if you were watching it live. If you're watching it live, you didn't miss out on the music, but of course, if you went there later, it was all muted and everything. So, but at least you get the full picture.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And I kind of didn't mind when the music wasn't playing, if I'm being totally honest.
That's okay. That's okay. To each their own. Sometimes it helps not to have the music and just focus on what the
True,
words are.
true. In the
Mhm.
imagery,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Because the imagery in that whole video was very, very, very. It was very strong, very disturbing, and very reflective of what's going on right now and what's been going on with the inception of the United States.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about like not only the fashion statements that the characters were taking, but also the juxtaposition between people on the outside of the House of the New Dawn being portrayed in this very flawed human way, but the people in the New Dawn are clean in white clothing, um,
Hmm.
lacking any sense of self, so to speak, whereas everyone else on the outside is completely self-expressive and free, and what it means to be clean versus dirty, and it's okay to be dirty. And I'm like, I'm into this.
Yeah, I mean that's what I identified with, because a lot of people would think, I'm dirty for expressing myself how I express myself, and it's not dirty. It's very it's what everybody should do. Nemo.
Yeah, exactly.
Not necessarily put on a blue glitter beard, but feel free to express yourself in any way, as long as it's not hurting yourself or others.
Of course, of course. Well, that's all I have for you. If you have anything else you'd like to add, or a parting farewell to our viewers and listener, you can go ahead and say it.
Well, I just want to say that it was wonderful being on your show, and I love what you're all about finding me, and I believe every day we are finding ourselves more and more. The older we get, the more experiences we encounter. I know that I found myself. Not to sound cliche, but I'm finding myself more and more every day. Not that I don't know who I am, but there's never not enough room. There's always room for more self discovery.
Oh, yeah.
So
All right. Well, thank you very much. It was good having you today.
you're very welcome, and thank you for having me on. And like I said, anybody in the Edwards, well, this show probably won't air whenever that happens. So, but just but keep supporting artists that don't do auto. Keep supporting artists like the Motels. Keep supporting artists like Sophie B. Hawkins. Keep supporting artists that are real artists, and that aren't married to the corporatocracy of the record industry.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Hey, you too. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Last year or so, I covered some LGBT artists that I like listening to. So this year, I'm going to cover the musicians that mean a lot to people, but were not LGBT, but at least they were allies or have otherwise explored their sexuality and gender expression, which I think is just as important in the journey of finding yourself. So let's start out with Fall Out Boy. I grew up listening to it, and a lot of the friends that I hung out with also listened to it. And I recently found out in this article in The Advocate, written by Daniel Reynolds, written for Spirit Day last year, 2017. Reynolds writes, Fall Out Boy Centuries is about Martha P. Johnson. One of the hit songwriters, Justin Tranter, revealed he had penned the song for the late transgender pioneer at a Wednesday concert for Spirit Day, an annual event raising awareness of the bullying of LGBT youth. I want every LGBTQ person to know that our ideas are mainstream. We have stories to tell, and people will effing listen. And said the out songwriter, who then began performing Centuries on stage at the Sayers Club in Hollywood. Tranter is one of several writers credited to the hit, which was the lead single of Fall Out Boy's 2015 album American Beauty, American Psycho. Others are Michael Fonseca, Raja Kumari, Jonathan Rodham, Justin Tranter, Andy Hurley, Patrick Stump Joe Trom, Suzanne Vega, and Pete Wentz. The song rose to number 10 on the US Billboard Hot 100, and the lyrics to the chorus are as follows, and I will play a clip now.
Some legends are told, some turn to dust or to gold, but you will remember me for centuries. Just one mistake is all it will take. We'll go down in history. Remember me for centuries.
Tranter is a board member of the LGBT media group GLAAD, and he invited Courtney Love, Haley Steinfeld, Adam Lambert, JoJo, and more stars to perform alongside him at the musical fundraiser in support of LGBT youth. The songs performed had been penned by Tranter or paid homage to other queer artists like Elton John, Sam Smith, and Freddie Mercury. Other artists include Troye Sivan, Parson James, Carly Rae Jepsen, Tinashe, sorry if I butchered that name, August Getty, Gigi Gorgeous, Sophia Carson, and Chris Colfer, who helped raise more than $100,000 for Spirit Day. So then I also looked up Brendan Urie. My sister could not stop talking about this, but I thought it was really great. So I looked up some articles on, Billboard.com and the HuffPo, and he actually wrote a letter last year, June 20th, 2017, so that was for Pride. And he wrote, "Love is beautiful. I know this because of my fans. They have shown me countless times what it means to accept someone for who they are. That is pure love. The last tour we just finished was the most inspiring I've ever been part of. During Girls, Girls, Boys, fans would hold up brightly colored paper hearts against their phone lights to show their support of a community they may or may not have even been part of. But this showed me that we are a part of the same community, human beings. I recently received a letter from one fan in particular named Vivian. She professed her gratitude for the concert and especially its incredible moment of love. It had given her the courage to be herself and admit to her parents who she felt she was. I can think of no greater gifts than love and acceptance. So I want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you for being who you are. You're beautiful, and I love you." And Brendan Urie has also talked about wanting sexual fluidity to be celebrated, which I think is also important. So at this HuffPo article, he says he isn't bothered by fans or media outlets that have mislabeled him bisexual after he admitted to having experimented with homosexuality and bisexuality. Quote, "It's interesting because it's what people do when they don't have a way to label something." Urie tells the Advocate's Jace Peoples. "They freak out and have this need to separate everything into predetermined boxes. But life isn't always that simple." You got that right. It's a spectrum. He also sounded off on his band's sexually tinged track Girls, Girls, Boys, which appears on the 2013 album Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die. The perfect summarization of that song is in the lyric, "Love is not a choice." I really believe that. Urie, who is married to Sarah Orzechowski, said, "These people who try to say otherwise, I just think, really? You really think people choose this? You really think some little kid is going to choose something that puts them at risk of being ridiculed and bullied?" He went on to note, "I feel like sexual fluidity should be celebrated. There's no shame in it, and if I can help shed some light on that fact, then great." And I'm going to share that, a few lyrics from that song.
And never did I think that I would be caught in the way you got me. You should never go aside and just give in. Girls love, girls love, boys. Girls love, girls love, boys. And never did I think that I would be caught in the way you got me. And girls love, boys. When love was not a choice.
And then earlier, and this article is from 2014, and earlier that year, he had vowed to fight against the Westboro Baptist Church picketing the Kansas City concert promising to donate $20 to the Human Rights Campaign for every protester that picketed. And I'm assuming they didn't show up, so, because he seemed disappointed. Let's see. And then I have this article in The Cut with a Q&A with Irish musician Hozier on gay rights, sexuality. But I wanted to talk about the music video that was there. And I think it's interesting. And this article says that the Cavern song uses love and ecstasy as a religious metaphor. The video depicts two men of gentle intimacy followed by brutal gay bashing at the hands of masked vigilantes against lyrics like, I was born sick, but I love it, command me to be well, amen, amen, amen. The article continues on. The song serves simultaneously as a message about human rights, a commentary about Hozier's upbringing in what he calls a, quote, cultural landscape that is blatantly homophobic, end quote, and a strong statement against the institutional homophobia in Putin's Russia. In the months since its release, the video had gone viral, and it's a really great song if you haven't listened to it ever. And the interviewer goes on to say, Take Me to Church is a critique of oppressive institutions, with a woman or female pronoun used as sort of a savior. And Hozier answers, Take Me to Church is essentially about sex, but it's a tongue-in-cheek attack at organizations that would, well, it's about sex and it's about humanity, and obviously sex and humanity are incredibly tied. Sexuality and sexual orientation, regardless of orientation, is just natural. An act of sex is one of the most human things, but an organization like the church, say, through its doctrine, would undermine humanity by successfully teaching shame about sexual orientation, that it is sinful or that it offends God. The song is about asserting yourself and reclaiming your humanity through an act of love, turning your back on the theoretical thing, something that's not tangible, and choosing to worship or love something that is tangible and real, something that can be experienced. But it's not an attack on faith. Coming from Ireland, obviously, there's a bit of cultural hangover from the influence of the church. You've got a lot of people walking around with a heavy weight in their hearts and a disappointment, and that S carries from generation to generation. So the song is about that, in its assertion of self, reclaiming humanity back for something that is the most natural and worthwhile, electing, in this case, a female to choose a love who is worth loving. And the interviewer goes on to ask, the video parallels that it's a statement against state oppression and homophobia in Russia. And Hozier says, absolutely, yes, it represents the very organized attacks against LGBT youths that are carried out with impunity, without action from law enforcement. There are a lot of far-right guys who film these attacks, because the song was always about sexuality and about organizations that would undermine humanity at its most natural. We thought that, in Ireland, the church doesn't really have that kind of strength that it did, but there will always be an organization that will, and there will always be organizations that try. Hopefully that won't be one day, but there are, and this is a pure example of that. It's people carrying out terrible acts through justification of far-right traditionalism, and also a long campaign to make homosexuality equivalent with things like pedophilia and bestiality, which is absolutely appalling. So that's what we wanted to show. The video wasn't over-exaggerating anything. We just wanted to tell it how it is. And the interviewer asks, does the church proliferate institutional homophobia in Ireland? And Hozier answers, not so much from the church still, but there is that kind of public relations, tactical retreat of saying, we love the sinner, but we hate the sin. It's a backhanded way of telling someone to be ashamed of who they are and what they do. But right now, there's a referendum next year, and let's just note that this article was written in 2014, and next year for marriage equality, for equal marriage. We have civil partnerships. We don't have equal marriage. It's only recently in the last month that there's been quite a hullabaloo over using the term homophobia in the media, but it's changing, it's getting better. And let me just Google. I believe it got legalized at 2015. So that made it through. And then the interviewer asked, is there a personal reason that you are outspoken about homophobia? And Hozier says, no. And I don't think there needs to be. To me, it's not even a gay issue or a civil rights issue. It's a human rights issue, and it should offend us all. It's just simple. Either somebody has equal rights or they don't, and certainly in the Irish Constitution, marriage is genderless. There's no mention of a man and a woman. I didn't even have that many close LGBT friends or anything like that. But I suppose it was growing up and becoming aware of how you are, of a cultural landscape that is blatantly homophobic. I'm sure it's the same over here, where you turn around and say, why did I grow up in a homophobic place? Why did I grow up in a misogynistic place? You grow up and recognize that in any educated secular society, there's no excuse for ignorance. You have to recognize in yourself and challenge yourself that if you see racism or homophobia or misogyny in a secular society, as a member of that society, you should challenge it. You owe it to the betterment of society. Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, that's that. And I think it was a really good interview for 2014 of its time. And then I wanted to cover Gerard Way. This was another suggestion by my sister to cover on his idea of gender identity. My Chemical Romance's former frontman Gerard Way has always been seen as an emo hero, always wanted to share his history with depression to help fans dealing with the same. While promoting his new solo album, Hesitant Alien, the cult icon did a Reddit AMA that connected in a different way by opening up about gender identity. Uter Muty Scum asked, I've always been really inspired by your style and how you incorporate a little bit of glam, a little bit of femme into your aesthetic. In fact, the way you present on stage and in music videos helped me figure out my own gender identity as a teenager. Who are your style icons? What was your inspiration for messing with masculinity in a way that you do? Then Gerard responded in a touching and enlightening way. Wow, I'm so glad that helped in figuring out your gender identity. I have always been extremely sensitive to those that have gender identity issues as I feel that I have gone through it as well, if even on a smaller scale, the musician wrote. I have always identified a fair amount with the female gender and began at certain points in MCR to express this through my look and performance style. So it's no surprise that all of my inspirations, style influences were pushing gender boundaries. Freddie Mercury, David Bowie, Iggy, early glam, T-Rex. Masculinity to me has always made me feel like it wasn't right for me. I will be linking that AMA in the comments as well as the article that I pulled this from. And finally, we have this Kurt Cobain. We got some information of how he supported the LGBT community. And he would say things like, I'm not gay, although I wish I were just to pee off homophobes. And this article, covers it pretty well. It is 19 years to the day that Kurt Cobain, this was written in 2013, so it's been longer than this. It's been 19 years to the day that Kurt Cobain, best known as the singer of Nirvana, committed suicide. Since his death, he influenced several music artists not only by his music, but his passion for gay rights. Cobain, who shot himself when he was 27, would have been 46 today, told people to not buy his music if they were homophobic. In one of his journals, he said, I am not gay, although I wish I were just to pee off homophobes. In a 1993 interview with The Advocate, Cobain claimed he was gay in spirit and probably could be bisexual. He also stated he used to spray paint God is gay on pickup trucks in his birthplace of Aberdeen, Washington. He said, I used to pretend I was gay just to F with people. I've had the reputation of being a homosexual ever since I was 14. It was really cool because I found a couple of gay friends in Aberdeen, which is almost impossible. How I could ever come across a gay person in Aberdeen is amazing, but I had some really good friends that way. I got beat up a lot, of course, because of my association with them. People just thought I was weird at first, just some effed up kid. But once I got the gay tag, it gave me the freedom to be able to be a freak, and let people know that they should stay away from me. Instead of having to explain to someone that they should just stay the F away from me, I'm gay, so I can't even be touched, it made for quite a few scary experiences in alleys walking home from school, though. See, I've always wanted male friends that I could be real intimate with and talk about important things with and be affectionate with that person as I could be with a girl. Throughout my life, I've always been really close with girls and made friends with girls, and I've always been a really sickly, feminine person anyhow, so I thought I was gay for a while because I didn't find any of the girls in my high school attractive at all. They had really awful haircuts and effed up attitudes. So I thought I would try to be gay for a while, but I'm just more sexually attracted to women. But I'm really glad that I found a few gay friends because it totally saved me from becoming a monk or something. I mean, I'm definitely gay in spirit, and I probably could be bisexual, but I'm married, and I'm more attracted to Courtney Love than I ever could have been toward a person, so there's no point in trying to sow my oats at this point. If I wouldn't have found Courtney, I probably would have carried on with a bisexual lifestyle, but I just find her totally attractive in all ways. And you can check out a few of Nirvana's most loved tracks, All Apologies, where Cobain tells us everyone is gay, as well as Come As You Are and Smells Like Teen Spirit. And I just wanted to share that because, my sister talks about the elitism of a lot of fans and musicians who tend to be really bigoted and claim that the music is meant for them when it's actually meant to fight against them. Here's another article on Kurt Cobain and his support of LGBTQ people, as well as aspiring to be a feminist. Let's see. This was written in 2017, so this is kind of like just reflecting on his life. Reflecting on his staunch feminism, status as an LGBTQ ally, and his own contemplated queerness. Legendary Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain may be best known for his power chord-driven, chart-topping songs boasting catchy hooks, along with his fair good looks and don't give a F fashion sense, all of which made him the undisputed king of the 90s grunge rock scene. Cobain's anguished yelp, accessible guitar riffs, and clever lyrics in classics such as Smells Like Teen Spirit and Lithium immediately resonated with millions of Gen Xers, and he became the poster boy for a disaffected generation. An everyman of rock from beyond humble beginnings, Cobain's ability to connect to his peers and the masses through music catapulted him and his band to rapid mega-stardom. Consequently, Cobain, a shy, already troubled man, found himself grappling with a cornucopia of issues exacerbated by the trappings of fame, including depression, drug addiction, and serious stomach ailments, and his eventual death by a combination of a shotgun wound to the head, coupled with the massive quantities of heroin in his system. His fate was officially ruled a suicide, but many conspiracy theories continued to thrive surrounding those circumstances, left his legion of loyal fans devastated. These are the facts to which even the most casual Nirvana fans are privy. What's less often realized is Cobain's passionate, outspoken, and ongoing support of the LGBTQ community in an era that largely threw the then controversial issue of gay rights by the wayside, particularly in the wake of panic surrounding the AIDS epidemic. Such a public figure taking an unabashed stand to support LGBTQ people was rare, even revolutionary. In Cobain's heyday and his positions on LGBTQ equality helped change hearts and minds not only among his fan base, but in the music scene as a whole. Cobain also proudly identified as a feminist and had a long track record of friendships with and support of strong women. Cobain himself loosely identified as bisexual, notoriously rejecting interviews with larger, more financially established media outlets in favor of speaking with community publications and zines. Kurt interviewed with The Advocate in 1993, stating that he was gay in spirit and probably could be bisexual. He probably would have carried on the bisexual lifestyle, though we now frown upon referring to sexual orientation as a lifestyle, Cobain's sentiment still retains measurable power. It's especially poignant today, as the bisexual community remains stigmatized, and people who identify as bisexual often face scrutiny and judgment not only from the straight population, but from some in the queer community. Cobain never shied away from his label, though. He purposely took time with The Advocate to connect with an LGBTQ audience and illustrate that not all gods of rock music were homophobic. He had a long-standing feud with Axl Rose of Guns N' Roses, whom Cobain found racist, misogynistic, and homophobic. In one of the journals, Cobain wrote, "I am not gay, although I wish I were just to pee off homophobes." In his youth, he spray-painted a god as gay, da-da-da. You know how it goes. And then, let's see. Cobain always struggled with conforming to traditional concepts of masculinity, something for which his mother and abusive stepfather consistently mocked him. Speaking of his mother and teenage years in Aberdeen, Cobain said, "I even thought that I was gay. I thought that might be the solution to my problem. I had a gay friend, and then my mother wouldn't allow me to be friends with him anymore because, she's homophobic." Cobain found out that at concerts, some of his fans spread anti-gay messages in tune to his music. Disgusted on Nirvana's next release, Incesticide, Cobain demanded that he write a message back to these fans in the liner notes saying, "If any of you in any way hate homosexuals, people of a different color, or women, please do this one favor for us. Leave us the F alone. Don't come to our shows and don't buy our records." He wrote similar sentiments in the liner notes for Nirvana's last studio release, In Utero. "If you're sexist, racist, homophobe, or basically an a-hole, don't buy this CD. I don't care if you like me. I hate you." So, that's what he's got to say about that. And then, Cobain and the other members of Nirvana, Chris Novoselic and Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters, made a statement coming out against proposed 1992 Oregon legislation that would have stripped non-discrimination protections from the LGBTQ community. Measure 9 goes against American traditions of mutual respect and freedom, and Nirvana wants to do their part to end bigotry and narrow-mindedness everywhere, Nirvana collectively said. The band played a benefit concert to formally oppose the law, which ultimately failed to pass. Cobain also shouted from the rooftops his feminist views and respect for all women of all stripes in all fields. His song Polly made waves due to its tackling of male-dominated culture, male aggression, and point-of-view rape scenario. On rape culture, Cobain asserted the problem with groups who deal with rape is that they try to educate women about how to defend themselves. What really needs to be done is teaching men not to rape. Go to the source and start there. Wow! This guy was no victim blamer. Cobain and Nirvana made a point to tour with and befriend feminist bands such as Bikini Kill and Sonic Youth. In 1993 Spin magazine interview, he waxed philosophical on changing dynamics in the 90s rock scene and how he backed the decades of influx of female-fronted bands, saying rock and roll has been exhausted. But that was always male rock and roll. There's a lot of girl groups just now within the last few years. The Breeders and Riot Girls all have hands in it. People are finally accepting women in those kind of roles. In an interview with PBS, Cobain pointed out society treats women unfairly, again referring to his childhood experiences. Because I couldn't find any friends, male friends that I felt compatible with. I ended up hanging out with a lot of girls. I just always felt that they weren't treated with respect, especially because women are totally oppressed. And the fast Nirvana track, Territorial Peeing, Kurt convincingly growled, "Never met a wise man. If so, it's a woman." Indeed, Kurt Cobain deserves a status as a grunge legend and truly iconic figure in American rock music. However, he clearly wants to be known for more than that, a man who sought to use success as a platform to advocate for and help advance marginalized people and communities. And for that, we remember and celebrate him. And that's all I have for you today. Did you find yourself today while finding me? Feel free to send me a message. You can contact us at 701-566-0917, at Nemo Potatoes on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Contact me through my contact on kpppfm.com/finding-me on that tab, or email me at nemo@kpppfm.com. If you'd like a sneak peek to the building of Finding Me programs in the future, consider becoming a patron at my Patreon at patreon.com/anemonefish. Follow us on Facebook at 88.1 FM Fargo-Moorhead, the People's Press Project, and Mexi-Can. Donations to Fargo-Moorhead's newest low-power commercial-free radio station can be made at our website on kpppfm.com/donate, and check out our underwriting opportunities at kpppfm.com/underwriting-opportunities on how you can support the first queer radio program in the Red River Valley. Thanks for tuning in. See you next month on the first Wednesday here on Finding Me.